Welcome on in, golf fans. It's your boy Gsluke here with our fades and sleepers for this week's Memorial Tournament. You know what this means. We're looking at the game theory side of things and some of the higher ownership numbers, some of the maybe guys being a little bit overlooked by the masses going into lock that you should keep an eye on and consider before building your DFS lineups. Our sleepers, of course, the guys being a little bit overlooked, the diamonds in the rough per se that you can get to for some ownership leverage. And then on the other end of things, we've got our fades, right? The guys being a little bit oversteamed that are getting too much ownership for my liking. So without further ado, we're going to start with our fades. Let's get this thing started. We're going to start with the fades, where first off, we've got Tyrrell Hatton, and it's not like I hate the play. I understand it. I was hoping he'd come in lower owned here in the 9K range because he tears up these difficult courses. You think of the API, a few other elevated fields over the, this season, especially here in 2023, and he's killed it. The unfortunate part is he's a lot more expensive now, right? He's now in the 9K range, was usually a fixture in the 8K range in these kind of events, and is also carrying the same kind of ownership, if not higher ownership compared to some of the previous events. So rather than being a cheap, somewhat reasonably owned play that you could get to, he's now a chalky play at the 9K range, which is where I start to, draw the line in the sand. I just can't play somebody like Hatton who long term isn't really a 9K golfer, right? That's why I made the distinction before that he's played this well in 2023. If you look at his 2022 stats, it's not all that favorable, right? And anytime we have one of these chalky players, I have to have a long-term baseline of them actually being worth that kind of play, and not just the hot topic for this week. Long-term stats, long-term baselines are usually where these players end up regressing to. And sure, recent form matters, right? I'm not trying to say that, recent form is something to completely ignore, but when somebody like Hatton starts to get more expensive, he's like twice, almost 3 times as owned as somebody like Jason Day, higher owned than the JT Sun JMs of the world, you have to really start to question it. And for me, I would rather pay for a Hatton that's going to be a little bit lower owned, maybe closer to like the 10 to 15% mark, and then down there in the 8K range, closer to $8,400, $8,500. So I just think he's a little bit too expensive. He's definitely getting too much ownership for my liking. And in my large field GPP lineups, I'll be trying to make a pivot there in that 9K range. Next up, we've got ourselves Corey Connors, $8,300, and he lacks a lot of top-end upside. You may have heard me, drag his name in the past, and it's not like he's not a consistent player, right? He's extremely consistent, world-class ball striker, pretty much gains across all 4 categories. The worry is the top 5, top 10 upside. He's a player that's more known for going out there making cuts than he is for going out there and having those wins. Valero Texas Open, huge, asterisk, I guess, over the last few events. He's gone out there, got the win this year, back there, his first ever tour start. But outside of that, his ceiling is really like a top 10 finish. You don't see him crack that top 5 very often, and people own this guy in DFS like he's one of the top end GPP players in the world. And in these large field contests, which of course is kind of the idea for these videos, right? We're talking about some of the larger field contests on Draftkings. He's going to be 16, 17% owned. That's expecting him to go out there and you're going to have to play him in like 35% of your lineups, right? To get that leverage. You think he has a 35% chance of finishing in the top 5, top 10? I can tell you, I don't think so. In fact, before his win at the Valero, I believe his first top 5 before that was like a whole year before that. So he'd gone like a whole year in between top 5 finishes. Like I said, don't want to drag him too much here. If you're playing in cash, a smaller field contest, I think that Corey Connors is definitely in play for you out there. But if you're in these large field contests where you have to have the nuts to take them down, I think that's where this starts to come into question. So Corey Connors, $8,300. Great for a cash kind of format, but for me in large field GPPs is somebody I'm actively looking to avoid. I'll remind you guys, if you're looking for access for all of my projections, ownership, player pool, all of the prop stuff I'm posting for Prize Picks, Underdog, No House Advantage, make sure to check out my Patreon page. On there, it's $10 a month. You get access to all of these spreadsheets. Everything that's blacked out on here, you can copy and paste it into your optimizers, use it for your own analysis, so on and so forth. You get access to the Discord where you can, post any questions in there that you have, throw ideas off the rest of the community, sweat your bets out. It's a good time for sure. So if that sounds like something up your alley, you always wanted access to these projections yourself, well, that's where you can check them out. So check it out down there in the description of the video. Next up, we're going on to our sleeper plays, and of course, the more positive end of the spectrum, and players that I think aren't getting quite enough attention this week. And Colin Morikawa is the first one that comes to mind. He's Always been on my radar at this course. He did finish second a few years ago at this event and won the Workday charity event, which was also at Muirfield Village just the week before he went out there and finished second. So clearly likes the course. I will say the conditions for the Workday were a lot easier than what you saw for the Memorial. It played a lot more receptive than what we see for most of these events, and they took that place apart. I mean, just absolutely nuked it when it came to the winning score. So I don't know if there's that much crossover. Really, it's going to play much more difficult this week, I can tell you, with it being the invitational kind of field. But I like his chances here because first off, he finished second. He gained over 5 strokes putting that week. And then at the Memorial, the Workday charity the week before, he also nuked this golf course on the greens. The greens aren't going to change week to week, right? Maybe they're more receptive one week compared to the other, but it's not like the green surfaces were easier to read, one week compared to the other. The ball striking for Morikawa has been on fire for the last few months. You can see gaining over a stroke per round on approach, gaining off the tee, which he does it with accuracy and about average distance off the tee, which is the perfect combination for this golf course. Decent around the green, has been right around a neutral for the last few months, has actually gone a lot better with it over his last 12, or at least over the last 2 events. I know for a fact you can see slight loser there, but the last 2 events where we've had heavy rough around the green has been a slight gainer. So I like the fact that he's gaining around the green in strong fields, is still striping it when it comes to the approach play, and at this course before, twice, not just like once for Collin Morikawa, twice has he gone out there and absolutely destroyed it on the greens here. So at $9,900, I like that upside. He's only 10.6% owned, and I think this is on the higher end of the spectrum. I think I could see him coming in the single-digit range. It wouldn't surprise me all that much. And I know you've got the Xanders, the Cantlays around him. I mean, everyone wants to play Victor Hovland at this point. I even have an outright bet on the kid. But Morikawa, the putts he's been hitting of late are just scooting by the hole. You can see him on ESPN Plus. If you guys were watching him like I was, I had a lot of prop bets on him, so I was paying attention. His putts are not missing by much. And I heard a few announcers pointed out saying that, Morikawa's been so close to birdie just time and time after again. If those start to drop, he's going to go out there, nuke a field, and win an event. So I think he's a lot closer than most people think, especially with the putter, with some of the putting of late. And he's not tinkering with it all that much. He's just living with the saw grip, going out there putting. And I think he's going to figure it out at some point. That's what he's done in the past. That's when he's gone out there and spiked for wins. Everything but the putting is there right now. I mean, even around the green, like I said, has gone to right around a neutral, which is good for Collin Morikawa. Count me in on the kid. $9,900, could hit a bunch of fairways around here. Let's hope that putter gets hot. Speaking of the putter getting hot, Cameron Young, no one wants to play the kid. He needs a putter more than anyone in the world here. He's $8,800. The shots gained metrics have not looked good of late. And I think it's the perfect time to buy in. You can see he's only gaining off the tee, losing in the other 3 categories. Well, just a month, maybe a month and a half ago, this is the guy that everyone was betting every single week. This is the kid that was nearly 20% owned at every single golf tournament, finished second at the Open last year, was first round leader at this event just last year, and now we don't want to play him. Now he's 7% owned. Now I can just play him in 15% of my lineups and get leverage. You're telling me Jordan Spieth, and again, I love Jordan this week, right? Don't get me wrong, I'm still playing him, is higher owned than Cameron Young? What are we doing here, right? Hideki Matsuyama twice as owned as Cameron Young. Like, sure, I think Hideki's got a much higher floor, much higher median projection this week. When it comes to upside, we know Cameron Young can at least get into contention, right? Has not won a tour event yet, but would it surprise you if he just broke out here when no one's on him, right? After everyone's bending him week after week, oh, you got to bet Cameron Young is going to break out this week. The week where it's just crickets, you don't hear anything about the kid. It would not surprise me at all. He went out there and broke through and got a win. So $8,800. I'm usually pretty bullish on the kid anyways because of his birdie production, his high upside, aggressive kind of style. And if you're telling me we're getting single-digit ownership there, I'm going to have well over the field, probably 4, maybe even 5x the field on this sort of player. If he goes out there, he finishes top 5. These are the sort of plays that can win you a large field GPP. So pretty straightforward. Again, I don't hate Hideki. I don't hate Jordan Spieth for being higher owned, or Matt Fitzpatrick either for being higher owned. It's more so that Cameron Young is just being egregiously overlooked, right? Making him what I think to be one of the better GPP plays in that range. Alrighty guys, that is all I've got for the fades and sleepers. Before you hopping out of here, first off, smash that like button, but also comment down below your number 1 fade of the week. I considered making it Cantlay, who I will not be playing this week, but just a little bit too risky, right? He's won here twice. If you want to play Cantley, by all means, go out there and do so. But if you've got one on mind, right, maybe it's a bold one, maybe it's a Patrick Cantley of the world, maybe it's even a Scotty or a Rom or a Rory that you're going out there and fading, I would love to hear it down in the comments. For the sake of this video, we'll go with Cantley. I'll just say it. I'm not playing him this week. He is a fade for me, so I'll go with Patrick Cantley. Obviously, the two other fades we touched on there. We'd love to hear your thoughts down below. We'll be doing our live stream tonight, so make sure you guys set a reminder for that as well. That'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be talking about the chalk there, weather report, which of course is always important heading into lock, all of your questions, all the prop analysis that you need, just everything to get ready to go out there and crush it. So looking forward to that tonight. It's my favorite hour of the entire week. There'll be a link in the description to that as well. And like I said, if you want access to all of the spreadsheets you saw in the video, everything that was blacked out, well, check out my Patreon page. There is also a link down below to that. Best of luck with those lineups, any outright bets that you guys decide to go with, and let's get this cash.